Hey boys, welcome back to some more Nrl Supercoach preseason discussion and analysis. In the last video, we talked about the dummy halves, and it was, I'm still a little undecided, but I'm starting to lean towards having a bit more value options in the sort of, I guess, positions that aren't those massive ceilings, which Grant can... I know I'm talking about fucking dummy halves from the get-go, but Grant is the guy that can have the high ceiling, but he's shown that he also has those mediocre scores in between. So I'm somewhat leaning towards more value. And in the front row forwards, it's an interesting one. So at the moment, I've got Payne Haas sitting there at 750k, which is the exact same price as Harry Grant. Now, my initial thinking for this was going either Payne Haas or Harry Grant. Now, who is better? I mean, they're probably going to average the same, really. Harry Grant's going to have the odd bigger game, but then the odd lower game. Payne Haas is just going to consistently get 70 to 80 points. He might have the odd bigger game, he might have the odd slightly lower game, but they're very similar. And initially, I was like, the dummy halves have, I think, more value potential for those 500k guys like I talked about in the last video. And the front row forwards, there are some good value options, which we'll get to, but they can also be pretty duds. You know, they can really plod along and not do anything. So my initial thought was go Payne Haas, just the best front row option for the price, in my opinion, and stick him there. But as I look more into it, I'm starting to think going more value in a couple of more positions and really splurging on the big guns that can go massive. The halfbacks, Cleary, Hines, fullbacks, Ponga, and someone else, Dylan Brown, and another decent 5'8". I don't know. We'll get to more of those positions later, but let's delve into some other options in the front row. So Tino tops it out at almost 800k. Now, I wouldn't touch it. Like, honestly, in my opinion, again, I could definitely... I saw comments, people saying they were going Harry Grant, and if you're going to want to go Tino, he'll be one or two. I think Tino will be one or two in the top scoring department. It just determines how many tries he gets for the season. His base stats are incredible. He's got some attack. He is going to keep scoring tries. Like, it's not like he's going to go a season without scoring any tries. He's the type of player. He's a type of front rower like Nrl Blake, who is 740k, that will get those tries. That will just shit ya. He'll be on like 50 points, and then he'll get a line break and a try assist and bump up to 80 plus. So it'll happen. It'll happen again. But I just think that much money spent in the front row early in the season, and I don't have the stats off the top of my head, but I do think early in the season, typically the scores are just a little bit down. They're just a little bit down. The forwards, I think, start a little bit slower. Obviously, after the preseason, they're training and they're getting ready for the games. But game fitness and preseason fitness are two different things, and it always shows. I mean, guys. Granted, Tino and Payne Haas, they're going to be good to go. They can play big minutes, but at the end of the day, it's going to be hotter weather. Well, it'll be interesting to see what the weather's like in Vegas. I don't fucking know. for Payne Haas and a couple other guys, that is one thing to consider for the Vegas boys. How that's going to go, it's very... I don't know. That could throw a spanner in the works, but hotter conditions typically, and just a little bit slower to start with. So going big early in the front row, I'm leaning off it. But at the end of the day, we need to find some better, cheapy or mid-range options, and that's what I'm keen to look at, to see if there's actually guys that I'm actually interested in, or do we go big? So for me, Tino and even Nrl Blake, I'm just not... I'm not going to look at, really. The try scorers, just too expensive. If I was going this route, it would be Payne Haas. But then I look at number 4, Joey Tarpany. Now, I was pretty much like, I'm not going to go Tarpany again. But at the end of the day, dude, like, I had Tarpany all last season. He didn't let me down. He didn't have the big scores. He didn't have those 80s. He probably had a couple, but he didn't really score many tries. There were games where I was like so frustrated watching him, but then he would score 60 to 70 like every week. His average is 64.3. He played 23 games. He doesn't play Origin. Like, he's so reliable. You save 100k going Joey Tarpany instead of Payne Haas. It could be, a 5 to 10 point average deficit, maybe, but I don't know. Is this Joey Tarpany's year to actually score a few tries? I'm saving 100k going Tarpany. Honestly, I think I'm going to do it again. If I don't find another mid-range front rower that I really, really like, I got to be honest, Tarpany I think I'm just going to stick him in there again. I just love having that versatility of Tarpany in there who covers the buys, he covers Origin. It's just lovely. So I'm liking Tarpany. I think he's basically the same price he was last year. Pretty similar, maybe slightly more expensive, but yeah, I honestly, out of him and Haas, you know what? I'm starting to lean towards Tarpany. I'm starting to lean towards it. And again, the Raiders forward pack, they got that English guy, Morgan Smithies, who, they say he's got a big motor. I don't think he's going to eat into Tarpany's minutes. Horsburgh is missing for the opening 3 or 4 games, I think. Well, it's definitely either 3 or 4. So Tarpany have to pick up a bit of slack there. I mean, Josh Papali'i is just getting older. He's going to play, fewer minutes. So I think Tarpany's in his absolute prime. So I'm starting to ease towards Tarpany again. I fucking always have him, dude. His scores just don't look that pretty, like, compared to like a Tino will score a try and get like 100 points, and fucking Payne Haas will get 80s. But then you look at the averages and they're not that dissimilar. And he covers way more games. Like, if we go back up, I don't know why fucking the Supercoach site sometimes just absolutely shits the bed, which is so annoying. But Tino played 19 games and Payne Haas played 20. That's 4 more games, 3 and 4 more games for Tarpany. Fucking there goes again, dude. Oh, we'll be back. We're back. I told you, the fucking site just shits the bed. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it's like the pre-season pickup. I don't know. There should be like less traffic on it, so I don't know why it's fucking around. But okay, yeah, Tarpany I'm really liking. Barnett, God, he finished on 600k. That's crazy. Not keen though. Jack DeBellin. I mean, DeBellin was actually like turning into a genuine keeper in the front row forward. I can't remember. Like, I know he got suspended. And then, did he finish the year strong? I can't remember. He had a moment there where he was going massive. He was playing like almost 80 minutes. He was just getting through a mountain of work. Honestly, he's one to keep an eye on for the start. Like, at 580k, if the Dragons, their forward pack is definitely not that good. And if he's going to play massive minutes, I can't remember. I don't know what Shane Flanagan, I don't remember what he sort of likes. Does he like his front rowers playing massive minutes? I don't know. But if he is tipped to play big minutes, you can get, like, honestly, for another, like 60 odd K less, going Jack DeBellin, who'll probably punch out like 60s as well. Don't hate it. So you could save a bit of cash there. Junior Polo, I mean, he's been good in the past, but I don't know. His minutes are just down. Are they going to improve? I don't think so. Like, I just think they're going to stay pretty steady. He's solid, but not quite at that level. Mo Fodawaker, I feel like every year Mo Fotuaika is about to explode and become one of these premium front row options, but he just doesn't quite get there. He has a few games where he's like going fucking huge, but then just the consistency to score big numbers just hasn't been there for Big Mo. Jared Wallace, no. Taniela Paseka, a bit too expensive. Max King is another interesting one because he was very mediocre last year. The year before he was outstanding. I think he started the year great last year, but then a few injuries. He played 23 games, so it sort of felt like he was carrying a bit of a niggle for a lot of the season. His minutes weren't quite there, which was a little surprising. But again, the Dogs have plenty of back row, but they don't think they have a lot of front row options. So again, Max King is an interesting watch. I do like Max King a lot. Like he does have the base stats and he does have an offload in him. So I don't hate Max King either. Jake Trbojevic, no. Lindsay Collins, not the worst, but I wouldn't go there. Ruben Cotter. Okay, so Ruben Cotter, I think I had him in the back row for a moment, but yeah, front row. Having him in the front row, actually, I do not dislike that. He obviously, yeah, again, he was sort of plagued with injuries a bit. His minutes were down. I mean, if the Cowboys are to go well, Ruben Cotter needs to play big minutes, and like he potentially is that 60 plus average, 65, 70 even, if he's playing consistent minutes and he's got the attack in him. So I don't hate Ruben Cotter. I actually really like Ruben Cotter if he's fully fit. But again, like we talked about it in the dummy halves with guys that are injury prone. Ruben Cotter, unfortunately, he plays above his weight and he does pick up injuries. Again, he played 20 games. He did play 20 games. Obviously, he missed through Origin, so he didn't actually miss many games with injury. It felt like, did he play 20 games? It felt like he missed a good chunk of the season, but maybe not. Christian Welsh, I mean, he did a job for us last year for a good chunk, but absolutely not. Then we got a lot of mediocre stuff here. Big Nelson, I mean, on his day, I mean, he did some good stuff for me last year when I picked him up. Fisher Harris, no. Stefano, he was a decent sort of cheapish guy last year. He did a job. He made some cash. But these type of mid-range guys they're just not worth it. They're just not worth it. If you're gonna go someone around this price tag, you just got to spend a bit more for someone with some upside and just consistency, or go cheaper for a potential guy that can bump up basically these type of numbers. I mean, Toby Rudolph is apparently off the piss and raring to go. I was a fan of Rudolph a couple of years ago, and last year he had a bit of a shocker. He only played 14 games. You could do worse. I mean, honestly, the more I look at Flegler, I'm leaning off Flegler a little bit because he did play, like, at the Bronx, he did play a few games where he was asked to do a bit more minutes, like 50 plus, and he played well, but his scoring wasn't like off the charts. It was more the fact that Flegler, when he played bigger minutes, his base stats dropped, which is pretty typical for most mid-range sort of guys, unless you're Payne Haas and Tino and those type of guys, the real top end. But Flegler, he, at his best, he is more that impact front rower. I don't really think you want Flegler playing massive minutes. I think you want him for his aggression and his offloading for stints. I think, similar to a Sofa Solomona, playing him for big minutes, like he's gassed out there, he's missing tackles. So the more I look at Flegler, I think I'm waning off Flegler, and honestly, fucking Toby Rudolph. Again, I'll have a look at the Sharks pack. Probably wouldn't go there, but when guys are training it and going off the drink, potentially. Who else have we got? Saifidi Arrow. What a fallen gun he was. I mean, again, we'll see what role Arrow gets at 460k. Decent value potentially, and if he gets a starting spot, I probably do prefer Arrow to Flegler again. Going down the list here, Tamalolo. Talk about falling guns. Tamalolo at 440k. He averaged 43. He played 16 games. Obviously had that decent injury at some point. I can't remember, but do you take? He's still dual. Dual position is very handy. That's why I like Ruben Cotter as well. But I guess Cotter and Tamalolo, they sort of cannibalize each other a little bit. But does Cotter just get like a front row spot and just wound up and let go, or does he play lock and Tamalolo's on the bench? It'll be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Can Tamalolo fucking get back to his best? He's not going to be what he was a few years ago, but I feel like he's surely got more to give than averaging 40. He's too good. Fucking Todd Payne, granted he's done some good things at the Cowboys, but I will never forgive Todd Payne for pretty much fucking Tamalolo. Like, as soon as Payne took over, he stuffed him. For Supercoach and for NRL, I feel like he's completely stuffed him, but probably a little harsh. Tamalolo was probably on the decline anyway, but surely he's got more. He's got way more to give. He's not that old. He's still absolute powerhouse. So, interesting watch, and a potential, again, if you want to go sort of value in the front row with the potential there, I don't hate a Tamalolo at 440. Obviously, you would not pick him in second row, but front row forward, I think, I'm trying to remember, was he just second row forward last year? I think he was. So, with that dual status, he might have got the dual at some point last year, but the dual makes him a little interesting. Tavita Totola, he was good a couple of years ago again. I think, he played 50. He missed quite a bit with injury. Potentially, he's another guy that could get up to that 60 average, really. The Rabbitohs, they probably need to rely on Totola doing some decent work. So another good watch there, I think, for Totola to see how their front row sort of shakes up. Because I do like Totola. And again, that value is pretty solid. Terrell May is another guy that people are pretty high on. I am as well, but I just, there were a few games at the back end where he was unreal, and he was playing bigger minutes, and he looked incredible. But like, at the end of the day, they still got Lindsay Collins, who is going to play decent minutes. They got Hargraves, who, I'm not a fan of Hargraves, but they're not going to give Hargraves like 20 minutes. Like, they're still going to have Hargraves play decent-ish minutes. I think his minutes are still going to decline, and Terrell May probably does see the benefit of that. But I don't know, if he wasn't 430k, I could definitely see the value. But I don't know, if I'm looking at Totola at 435, looks a little bit more tempting, and even Tamalolo, I don't know. We'll see how their pack lines up. I just can't see Terrell May starting. I still think Hargraves and Collins start. I mean, maybe the changing the guard, they'll put Hargraves back to the bench and Terrell May start, but they still got, we'll talk about him as well in a second, but Spencer Leniu is there, who I'm not really keen on at all. I mean, maybe he shocks me and plays bigger minutes, but I'm not really keen on Spencer. But again, that's another middle forward to have in the rotation. So you're going to have Terrell May, Spencer, Lindsay, and Hargraves. Like, that's, I don't know. Obviously, if there's an injury to like a Hargraves, then Terrell May becomes like great priority. But as it stands, I'm not that high on starting him. Hame Sele, he's gone to the Dragons. Now, oh man, I love Sele. I think there's just been a couple of injuries every year that have sort of slowed his momentum. He has like these stints of unreal footy, not just Supercoach, but just playing outstanding. And then he cops a knock or he cops an injury. He was great at the Rabbitohs for a few years. Going to the Dragons, who I was just talking about. I wasn't sure what their forward pack would look like, but yeah, they have signed Hamasele, who, in my opinion, should slot straight into a starting role, either lock or front row, and he is a player. He's got good base, he's got an offload. I think he is another really good potential value at 420k, and again, I probably prefer him over. I'm going off Flegler. I'm sort of going off Thomas Flegler, honestly. Which I think Flegler will still be solid, but I don't really see Flegler doing much more than a 45 to 50 average. I just can't really see it. I just can't see him being that front rower that does 35, 40 tackles and runs the ball 15 to 20 times. Maybe the odd game, but obviously he's got the offload, which sort of counteracts the base, but I don't know. Wayne Bennett's also a bit of a old-fashioned guy that typically their teams don't offload as much, so I don't think Bennett's gonna try to knock it out of him, but he is a guy that doesn't like risky offloads, which Flegler can do. He's done it many times, so that's a point as well. Going down, Fonu Pole, probably not. I mean, Corey Jensen, bit too expensive, but he potentially gets a starting spot. I know people are talking about, again, we'll get to him, but Fletcher Baker. I don't know. Corey Jensen, I think Jensen might get that starting spot to begin the season. I still wouldn't go him. He just doesn't. Again, he doesn't pose much value in the role. Josh Alloway, Sean Kepi. So Sean Kepi, I didn't realize it went to the Rabbits. Interesting signing, I guess. Braden Hemlin-Uele. Keenan Palacia is going to the Titans. Again, it poses decentish value. If there's no really good cheapy options, you go worse than a Palacia. He's got good base stats. If he gets the minutes, which does he? I don't know. I mean, Tino's going to play massive minutes. Who else have they got? Yeah, I don't know. Mo Fodawaker, I forgot. He'll play decent minutes. So yeah, I don't really see Palacia doing too much there. Thomas Hazelton. Oh man, I mean, this guy potential big value here. Like, he's a try scorer. He's got the attack in him. He just needs a few more minutes, and he easily that 35 could be a 50 average, I think. And I think the Sharks need to play him more minutes. He looked really good. So Hazelton is another guy. It would be tricky to start him though, because he wouldn't start. He would come off the bench as that impact, and yeah, just coming off the bench, he's not going to play big minutes. So, but you never know. Down the track, he could be a decent downgrade option. Joe Offengawi, who I talked about in my team reveal, he's in the side at the moment. Again, 350k. He poses great value. He's a potential gun. Yeah, probably doesn't get the minutes. The more I think about the Eels, they got Campbell Gillard and Polo up front, and then surely Hopgood gets the lock spot. Or Madison, yeah, Offengawi bench roll at best. So again, he probably there's just too many forwards of the fucking Eels. He just won't get the minutes. Shaq Mitchell was a good cheapie and then suffered an injury, but again, maybe decent value there. He was scoring well. He looked pretty good when he played. Ryan Sutton, geez, he was a potential guy last year as that 400, 450k maybe. Fucking stunk it up. Oregon Kafusi didn't have a great season at the Sharkies. Royce Hunt, likewise, didn't play his best footy, I think. Liam Knight at the Doggies at 330k. Again, the Dogs, I talked about Max King having a front row spot. Does Liam Knight maybe get the other front row spot? Maybe? I don't know. The Dogs are it'll be, again, interesting to see how they sort of shake up with their forward pack. Obviously, you would expect Kickout and Preston on the edges, and then Josh Curran, I would assume, would be the lock, and then Max King to start with maybe Liam Knight, or maybe someone else like a Patolo or someone else. But Spencer Linu, I talked about. I'm sure he's going to be very popular to start, and I mean, maybe I'll eat my words, and maybe he bumps his 20 minutes a game up to 40. I just can't see it happening. Like, they got Terrell May, Hargraves, and Lindsay Collins, all potentially can play big minutes. Spencer Linu, he's that impact player. Like, yeah, they sign him for good money, but like at the end of the day, his best footy is coming on and going apeshit. Like, I don't know. He could change his whole game plan, game style, and play bigger minutes, but I don't know. I don't see it. I just don't see Spencer Linu at 330k at the moment. Matt Croker, I really like. I think he's been sensational for the Knights when he's played. Just, again, doesn't have the minutes with the Saifidi brothers up front. I actually think Matt Croker is better than a couple of the guys they play, but when he comes on the field, he does some good stuff, but just the minutes aren't there for him. So the other guy here, Fletcher Baker, again, he'll be very popular. I mean, it depends who gets that other starting spot with Flegler gone. Fletcher Baker, I haven't really seen much of him. Obviously, he's come from the Roosters. There's been some decent raps on him. I don't know. I mean, again, if he gets the starting spot, then sure. At 300k, it's a pretty easy value pickup. Who, sure, a starting front rower should be playing 40 minutes at least. You would hope. So 40 minutes, 40 points. It's okay. It's okay. I don't see too much more from Baker, but I could be mistaken. Again, I haven't seen too much of him, but we'll see how he looks, and also how the Broncos shape up. I mean, we got Marty Tapau there as well. I don't see Tapau starting. Again, I think he'll be on the bench playing limited minutes, but similar price. Then we have so Basami Solo. Interesting one. He played some good footy. He did start. Yeah, I'm surprised he's actually 300k, because he started quite a few games at the Raiders, but yeah, he's actually probably one of those guys that started and then didn't play many more minutes after he went on the bench. But I don't know, he's a good young player. Again, like I talked about, Josh Papali'i getting older. I think they've lost a couple of forwards leaving. Obviously, again, Horsburgh's out, suspended, but I don't know, make of that what you will. See what happens. You don't want to get too caught up in that, because Horsburgh obviously will come back into the team and potentially knock someone out. But again, Solo could be an okay cheapy pickup. Who else catches the eye? I mean, Isaac. No, I just don't see the minutes for big Isaac there. Davey Mawale, again, cheapy option. I do like this year. He could absolutely stink it up again, but surely this is a year he gets up to more those 40 minutes, right? You'd think, you'd hope. At the moment, he's in the team, and I think he'll stay there pending something crazy happening. Xavier Willison, obviously a good young kid, but doesn't really have the minutes at the Broncos. Ada Mariota at the Raiders, this dude's an absolute gun. I mean, similar mold to, like, he's sort of a mix of a Papali'i and Joey Tarpany. He's sort of got a bit of both about him. Obviously, he's not fucking the best of both worlds, but he's a good player. maybe it's sort of out of him and Sami Solo, who sort of gets a few more minutes, and Mariota I think he's really good. So he's another cheapie that I think keep an eye on. Very good player. Jesse Calhoun as well, very good player at the Sharks. Didn't get many opportunities, but it looked really good when he had his chance. But again, pending team list, pending minutes. Who else we got? Farmasili has gone to the... Okay, so they do have another... They signed Farmasili from... he was at the Dolphins last year. He's been at a few clubs, old Farmasili, but... I mean, he's definitely not relevant, but he's sort of relevant depending who gets a spot in the middle. Surely he doesn't start. That would be a bit crazy. Who else have we got? I mean, Liam Henry, good young kid at the Panthers, but... He's not going to crack a starting side. Sam Hughes at the okay, he's actually one people are talking about a bit as a cheapie at the Dogs. He might get the starting spot. I don't know. The Dogs seemingly have so many fucking forwards. It's insane. But you know, Phil Gould came out and said Sam Hughes is training the house down, one to keep an eye on. So I mean, it's good raps from Philly, but. Doesn't mean much unless he gets a starting spot, I would say. I mean, even if you get a bench spot at 238k, it's probably just as good as going fucking Davey Moale for 30k more. So keep an eye on Sam Hughes. Who else we got? So Chris Patolo, another one. I did mention him before. A lot of people like Patolo. I think they got big raps on him, but I don't know. Looking at the other options, does he get a bench spot? Probably not. But yeah, I guess the Dogs, whichever cheapie either gets a spot in the starting front row or a bench spot, probably the one you would go with. Just depends who it is. And then anyone else of note? I mean, Fainu at the Tigers. Good young kid. Viliami Fafita. Any genuine cheapies that ring a bell? Ben Takura. I think they did say he's going to get a bench spot. So he's not going to play big minutes, Ben Takura. So you could maybe expect 20 points a game, but he does. I mean, he's a potential player of the future. I mean, he's an absolute giant. He's going to be a try thief at times. So if he gets a bench spot at bottom dollar cheapie price, don't hate Ben Takura. Definitely a decent option there. So yeah, there's not many genuine cheapies, but there's quite a few guys. I mean, anything from like bottom dollar cheapie to about 260, 270, I think is like cheapie status. And then 300 to 500 or 450 maybe is like mid-range for me. So there are some good options at the moment. I mean, my starting team, I think I'm going completely off it. Davey Moale, I think I'm going to stick with Moale for now. But if we look, I think I'm going off the top line guys. I think if I'm going to go one of the high price guys, got to be honest, I think I'm just going to go Joey Tarpany again. I think I'm just going to go Tarpany. You can, it's just so nice being able to sit a guy for the whole year. Obviously, barring injuries and suspensions, but that's out of the control. But a guy like Tarpany, typically, you can sit him there for the whole year. He's going to score 60 to 70. Do it pretty easily. At times, you'll be frustrated because you think, why is he not playing more minutes? But it's just nice. It's just nice having that stability. And for 100k less than Payne Haas, it's very nice. So Tarpany, for me, is probably the pick out of the top four, if I'm being honest. Then if we go down, Jack DeBellin, I think is a definite watch. Again, pending how they shake up. Max King also, I think, like the Dogs did have a lot of like they do have a lot of cheapy front row potentials, but there's none of those front row options seem like big minute players and like guys that are really gonna be incredible. So Max King is definitely gonna be like their leader up front. So I do expect a bounce back from Max King and that 53 average to be up around that 60, maybe even more. So I like Max. I gotta be honest, I like Max King as well. I like him more than Flegler. He's obviously quite a bit more expensive, but I do like him a fair bit more than Flegler, if I'm being honest. Ruben Cotter, I like Ruben Cotter a lot as well. Out of Cotter and Max King, that's a tough one. I think Cotter definitely has the potential upside. Max King is probably your safer bet. Cotter is nice. He's got the dual front row forward 2RF, which is beautiful. Max King, you wouldn't expect to play Origin this year. You never know, maybe. But at the moment, he'll be good cover over Origin compared to Cotter. That's fucking good and bad for both, and they're fucking the same price pretty much. But I like both of them. I mean, if you didn't want to go Tarpany, you could go Cotter and Max King potentially. But I gotta be honest, the more I'm looking at it, I do like Tarpany. I do like Tarpany. Because going 2 mid-ranges, it does free up a lot of cash for sure. And again, it depends what other cheapies pop up if we're able to afford the other guns I want. But being able to save big in the front row is nice. Like, I remember the days of like a few years ago where you would go like almost cheapies in the front row that would average like 40 to 50, make a bunch of cash and do a great job. And they usually wouldn't be like these front rowers that would score tries and get, I mean, there would be front rowers that scored tries, but they weren't happening as consistent, I guess, and going massive and needing to be there. So it has changed a bit for sure as time goes on. But I like Cotter. I like Max King. More in the mid-range, we've got... Who else have we got? Toby Rudolph, maybe. I don't know, probably not Toby Rudolph. Thomas Flegler, again, I'm starting to ease off Flegler a bit. Yeah, I'm just... and again, he's got that... I mean, Flegler's got that suspension risk in him. Like, he plays aggressive. He's on the cusp of getting suspended a lot. So that's also another factor to consider. Jai Arrow, I think, for a cheaper price, if he gets a starting spot, is good value there. You've got Tamalolo. I mean, again, if Tamalolo round 1 gets a starting spot, I mean, he hasn't done it for a couple of years now, but do you take the gamble? It's not a huge gamble because he's 440k. Again, I prefer taking a gamble on a Tamalolo than a Thomas Flegler. I just don't see Flegler averaging that much more than he did last year. Tamalolo has the potential to go big. Will he? Probably not, but I don't hate it. I mean, I didn't talk about him, but Griffin Neem, I think, is an absolute gun. And if he can jag a front row starting spot, the kid can play for sure. Tavita Totola, I like a lot. Terrell May, I think with the options, I'm not a huge fan of to start, but you never know. Totola, Hamasele, both of them I really like for, again, quite a bit cheaper. Would I prefer Totola or Hamasele over Max King, or who was the other one? Ruben Cotter? I don't know. That's a tough one. You're saving about 100k going to either of them, or I guess even Jai Arrow in that same ballpark. I don't know. Who do I prefer? I mean, Hamasele is team dependent for sure. Totola will get a starting spot. I actually am really, really keen on Totola. I think it's gonna... I mean, yeah, last year was a bit of an outlier. Like, he's been really consistent. He hasn't been like an absolute gun in the front row, but he's definitely averaged like plus 50, right? I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's been above 50 for a couple of years, I feel like. And he's got those potential, like, big base stats in his game. And I think the Rabbitohs probably need that. So I do like Totola. I do like Totola a lot. And then if we go down, a few cheaper options. No one really stands out. Thomas Hazelton, I think, is a good watch. Maybe. But again, yeah, probably not. Because they're gonna have probably... It's going to be Hamlin, Wale, or Royce Hunt starting, and then Toby Rudolph's going to be the other starter, and Locke's probably going to be McInnes. So, probably not Hazelton, but if an injury happens, if he can get a few minutes, he could be an absolute gun. Shark Mitchell could be good, decent value. Offengawi, I'm probably leaning against Offengawi now, just with the fucking Eels, their forward depth, it's just, there's too many minutes to go around. Offengawi's just not going to see the minutes, unfortunately. Ryan Sutton, 350, no. Spencer, again, I'm not really that keen on Spencer. I think Matt Croker is another guy that you can keep an eye on. I feel like he's really starting to find his feet in the NRL. Fletcher Baker, like I said, it depends who gets that starting front row Broncos spot. And I mean, Pasami Solo, decent watch. David Moale, obviously, we'll see. Mariota, I like, but we'll see. So yeah, there's some good options. I mean, Sam Hughes as well, like I said, cheap options. So there's definitely some good value. I don't know who I'm leaning. I don't know. Honestly, Totola, I'm really keen. I think Totola and Tarpany at the moment, I'm leaning towards those two to be my starters. And then it just depends if I need to free up more cash, I could drop Tarpany to a Ruben Cotter, or you want to take a punt on Tamalolo or someone cheaper to start, and then it just depends who your reserve bench front row, if a Hughes or a Moale or someone else pops up. So I'm leaning towards Totola and Tarpany, but again, it'll change numerous times. I mean, even fucking Matt Lodge, I'm just looking at him now. Matt Lodge, 400k. He obviously had a serious injury for the remainder of the season. Yeah, he didn't play pretty much after the middle half. And I mean, Matt Lodge, he's another guy that at 400k, he can easily average above 50, 55, which is pretty okay. So there's definitely some good options. I think at the end of the day with front row, you're not gonna get it too wrong. It's just a matter of, do you go with a couple of, or at least one of the big guns and just bank 20 points every week and sacrifice somewhere else? Or do you sacrifice in the front row, miss out on a few consistent points here and there, but you get to spend a bit more elsewhere, which I'm probably leaning towards. But I think, again, Supercoach, either option, you can still do well. It depends. Fuck, it's all luck, dude. There is skill. There is, skill involved. But at the end of the day, it's luck. Which one of these front rowers can score a few more tries? Which one of your gun players can go massive every week? That's what it comes down to. But I'm leaning towards going a bit cheaper. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the front row forward discussion. It was a long one. It was a fun one. So make sure to like and comment, and we'll be back for the fucking massive one, second row forward, in the next video. Stay tuned, and see you guys then.